Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're listening to this from. I'm Owen Hillman, alongside of my awesome co-host Grant Hillman. We're officially at the end of the 2025 to 26 NFL season, and it ended with the Super Bowl, like it always does. And what a boring Super Bowl this was. Don't you agree?
I do agree, man. I was a little disappointed. I mean, hey, all of our takes were right, I have to say. We were right about the fact that the pass rush for New England was going to be a deciding factor in the game. That was really the only thing that was working well for New England. And like we said, I mean, my issue I had going into that was Drake May had not really experienced or had a good playoff run at all. He just did not. He was shaky all playoffs. He actually, now we figure out, had the worst EPA of any quarterback in playoff history with a minimum of 3 games, I want to say. So,
Yeah.
yes, guys, Drake May was the worst playoff quarterback we've seen in a while. So, well, CJ Stroud.
Oh, but it's rough that like he was bad and yet they still ended up bailing him out anyway. He
Yeah,
was worse than 2015 Peyton Manning, and I was old enough to
he
remember
was.
that.
It's a comparable season, honestly. But I really actually think that first of all, solidifies the MVP argument, which I know we're not looking at postseason, but at the end of the day, the reason why the Rams didn't win is not because of Matthew Stafford's inability to get the ball moving. And I don't think that Drake May is quite in that top five conversation yet. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, and to think that Stafford had what was it, I think 960 yards, and I'm not gonna miscorrect the stat, but I want to say he had over 5 touchdowns in 3 games
Very well
against
could be right.
Seattle. I mean, they were constantly just giving Seattle's defense fits with the
Yeah,
Rams. And the fact that Stafford did that and Drake May couldn't do anything against Seattle just proves that he was the best player
definitely.
in the nation there. But pretty
Definitely.
unentertaining Super Bowl. Just my player prop completely crumbled with just one player there. Um,
Yeah.
I did mention that I had AJ Barner over yards and Cooper Kupp over receptions, I'm gonna say. Unfortunately, I bet Mondre Stevenson over on carries. And I don't know why. They just stopped running the ball after the third quarter. He
Yeah,
had
which
7 carries in this like the second quarter, and I was like, okay, this is gonna cash out, but
yeah,
I guess not.
that's funny. Yeah, no, I my Hunter Henry line did not hit.
Oh,
However, the original line of 14 and a half for Rashid Shaheed, excuse me. I don't know why I always confuse the two. But my original bet was Rashid Shaheed over 14 and a half for longest reception. That did hit. However, the line was shifted. There's a word for that? Flexed?
yeah, the line was
Um,
shifted, I want to say, yeah.
to 16 and a half, and his longest reception was 16 yards. So that one sucked for anybody who made that bet right
What?
before the game kickoff.
Yeah, no, that's brutal. I think they just knew that. I don't know why in the world they did only 2 yards of a shift on that one,
I
but
know. And it worked. That's the scary part.
yeah, it worked by only half a yard. But you know,
Yeah,
in betting, the house always wins. But today we're going to be talking about the offseason preview, but I do have to discuss one major off the field incident with Falcons rookie edge rusher James Pierce Jr. According to ESPN's Mark Raimondi, pass rusher James Pierce Jr. was arrested in Doral, Florida on 2 counts of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, 1 count of aggravated stalking, and 1 count of fleeing police. He was in a dispute with his girlfriend, who is Los Angeles Sparks star basketball player Rickea Jackson of the WNBA. And Pierce, while he was following Jackson's car, hit it multiple times, including head on while she was trying to get out. According to Doral Police Chief Edward Lopez, he also struck a police officer with his vehicle while trying to evade arrest. He was booked into Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center and released on a $20,500 bond. And look, I I'm not one to speculate on I'm not going to speculate on whether or not Pierce's NFL career is completely done. I mean, we've seen players do really heinous things and get second chances, but I don't want him to see him in the Falcons uniform anymore. It's
I
absolutely
agree.
devastating news. And
It's not a guy that you don't want, we don't want him to get a second chance, if anything.
yeah, it's absolutely brutal. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Rickea Jackson, who's not only having to deal with the stresses of being a WNBA player and a superstar player at that, but also having to deal with the stress of this situation as well. So, That's it's
Yes.
just
Another
really,
thing that is important to look at in this situation is that in Florida, the minimum sentence for this is 5 years, and it is I don't really know the terminology for it, the legal terminology, but essentially, if convicted, he has to serve this sentence without a doubt. There's no getting around the line. So I've heard there's been like rumors that they're working on a plea deal. However, it doesn't matter whether it's a plea deal, whether the charge, it doesn't matter. What matters is that this happened, and we gotta move on from JPJ. Unfortunately, he's not going to be the guy you want to look up to in the locker room. He's not going to be the guy you want to watch playing in a Falcons uniform. He's not going to be the guy you want leading this Falcons defense. It's just not that kind of guy. We got to move on.
yeah, just a brutal outlook for Atlanta. We'll definitely talk a little bit more. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about him once we get to the defensive offseason outlook, whether or not his potentially his cut or that big suspension from his will do with that defense. But now we're going to dive into the offseason outlook for Atlanta with the offense. I listed all the players in bold as UFAs, players in Italica rookies, but the quarterback room consists of QB Michael Penix, who's in year three of his rookie contract, still in the IR, but expected to recover at around April. He's got a $6.2 million cap hit, and he's a 2028 UFA. Kirk Cousins is in year three of his deal, has a $24.2 million cap hit. And I didn't include, I think he's going to be a 2027 UFA if the Falcons just let it out, but a lot of people are considering that he is a cut candidate at this point. In fact, the
Yes.
Falcons restructured his contract specifically for that reason. Uh, I'm not really going to mention Asen Stick. Yeah, either he's a UFA. Just what do you see the Falcons going after a quarterback to back up Michael Penix?
Well, we can start pretty simply with Joe Flacco. As we know, Kevin Stefanski has worked with Joe Flacco quite a bit in his time in Cleveland. Not only that, but Tommy Reese also worked with him briefly last season. So we do have some sort of experience there with Flacco, although things did not end out as much as Cleveland would have wanted them to last season. However, I could totally see a guy like Joe Flacco being in here as he's going to be cheap. Not only that, but he's gonna be a guy who could potentially win you games in situations where you need him to. And then on the other side, I'm gonna honestly stole this one from you, Owen. I like Jimmy Garoppolo as a guy that we could attack as a backup.
Yeah, I like Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I'm starting to wane a little bit on him. I think that he's your ideal backup if you want to still believe in Michael Penix as the guy, but you want like a break glass in case of emergency situation.
Right.
But Flacco has already had that chemistry with Kevin Stefanski. I mean, Stefanski, Reese, and Pelt were on the staff, or excuse me, Stefanski and Pelt were on the staff where Joe Flacco had eight
Yes.
touchdowns and seven receptions and led the Browns to the playoffs. So you obviously get that kind of chemistry back, even though he had a rough 2025. But I think that Flacco will probably be the answer. I just don't think the Falcons are really going to get a high level backup here. Like, I don't think they're going to try going for a Mac Jones or even
Agreed.
like,
Especially with the fact that Mac Jones is whether or not San Francisco is serious about not trading him, we do know that this means that he's worth more to San Francisco than we previously thought he was. So this
yeah.
could be a ploy for them to force you to dangle some things in front of San Francisco's head for him, but I doubt it. I doubt that it's going to be worth giving up. I mean, look, I want Mac Jones more than the next guy. However, we still really don't know how good he's going to be on another team. We still really don't know. So for us to go ahead and sign him or trade for him and give up, more than we should for also one more year on contract, where then we're forced to re-sign him to a big contract if he does pan out well. I think it's going to be better if we let him hit the market.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I've heard people compare Mac Jones to be the next Sam Darnold, but I've also heard that, you know, Mac Jones was also a kind of a system quarterback in the Kyle Shanahan style. And
Yeah,
Brock Purdy already does what Mac Jones does, but better. I think that Brock
agreed.
Purdy is still a good quarterback, and the Niners
Definitely.
would not be wise to let him go and let Mac Jones start.
Yeah, look, at one point during Brock Purdy's injury, I'll be honest, I felt like the San Francisco 49ers had a bigger chance of winning with Mac Jones than they did with Brock Purdy. Not in the now, but in relations to how they were going to build this team. Because one thing that Mac Jones has that Brock Purdy doesn't is that Mac Jones sounds so dumb, but he was drafted in the first round. This guy was
Yeah.
looked at as a NFL talent who could be potentially elite in the NFL, when at the very least was going to be your guy. Brock Purdy is not was not viewed at that way. However, Brock Purdy comes back and throws, oh my God, how, was it 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks or something like that? Where he,
Yeah, he
when they
went
played against
psycho.
the Colts, when they played the Bears, those games back to back, he did not have an interception in those games. Oh, never mind, he threw a pick six in the first throw of the Chicago game. Take my words back. However, he did have like 9 or 10 touchdowns. It was insane. Dude was legitimately balling, and he showed in that Chicago game too that he's also extremely athletic.
Yeah, he has stretches of very elite play. Like you mentioned, the Tennessee, Indiana, and Chicago game. He kind of sputtered later on in the postseason, but I think that might have just been due to the Niners kind of running out of gas.
Yeah.
They were dealing with so many injuries, and the George Kittle injury really just
And
sealed it
that
for
Philly
them.
game was brutal. It was a tooth and nail fighting game. They
Yeah,
definitely came out of that game exhausted. Playing in Philly against a physical defense like that and not running away with it, having to really fight tooth and nail for that. Totally going to that Seattle game at Seattle, I could totally understand just having absolutely nothing in the tank.
yeah. And he still had 8.5 yards per attempt in that Philadelphia game too. So he was a big reason why San Fran came away with the win. And then just having to face Seattle twice, just
Right.
the buzzsaw just
Yeah.
goes feet first there. My
Such
goodness.
a nasty defense.
Well, I didn't know we were going to go into the Brock's Purdy spiel and the Falcons deep dive over here, but on to the running backs. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's going to be back in the fold next year. He's in year four. He's entering year four of his rookie contract, $6.9 million cap hit. I had said it is 2028 UFA because they're more than likely going to pick up his fifth year option.
Yeah.
Tyler Algier is going to be an upcoming free agent, and we also have Nathan Carter in the backfield too. Just an interesting halfback. Didn't really get many opportunities outside the preseason. He had, I think he had
Nope.
opportunities as a kick returner too, which was rough. But on to Algier. Do you see the Falcons retaining Tyler Algier?
I don't, honestly. And as much as I would love us to, I think that the price tag that comes with re-signing a guy like Algier, look, it's not that we don't want him, but he's not going to be a positive addition to this team that, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? They talk about it in economics. Um, it's
I don't know. It'd kind of just be
essentially
a
your potential growth rather than your like literal growth. You're losing out on opportunity cost. There it is. It's the opportunity cost of re-signing a guy like Algier that you're missing out on. The amount of depth that we could get and positions that we really need depth in when you've got, I mean, we haven't been utilizing Algier well enough, even though we really have, he's still getting like 20 carries a game sometimes, but I don't think we're going to use him like a team that needs a RB1 does. I mean, I know for a fact we're not going to. We have the best RB1 in the league, some might say. So to me, it's the opportunity cost of the contract that comes with re-signing Algier that I can't get behind. However, if there's a world where Algier wants to wear the Falcons jersey, which to me is a little bit unlikely because it's not like he's married to Atlanta because of a coach. He's definitely
Mhm.
not. We just got a whole new coaching staff in. I could totally see this saying like, okay, either you stay in Atlanta under a whole new coach, or you move somewhere else under a whole new coach and you get paid more. So, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it seems like Algier probably is gonna find a new destination. I've heard people speculate that he could go to Tampa Bay to reunite with Zach Robinson and that offense. There's just looking at this running back class, there's just a ton of mid-tier options at running
Yeah,
back. I mean, obviously outside of Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, there's like Travis Etienne, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle. There's some good
yeah,
running back options on here. But then
yeah,
outside of that, you have Kenneth Gainwell, Jerome Ford, like Kareem Hunt, Jeremy McNichols.
right.
So Tyler Algier doesn't really like. I don't think Tyler Algier is really gonna stand out among the better running backs. I think he's like
No.
gonna be just considered a mid-tier running back.
Yeah, I see him going somewhere like Tennessee or Dallas that might already be spending their money on another guy. And, I think that Dallas is probably going to be attacking, honestly, tight end the most. think this is what they're going to go for. And also, well, they already franchise tagged Pickens, but I don't know. I see him going somewhere like that where they get these guys don't necessarily have the position to throw a huge contract at a guy like Kenneth Walker, who's going to stay in Seattle. Let's be honest. But
Yeah,
so yeah, I see him going to Dallas or Tennessee personally.
fair enough. But if the Falcons don't retain Tyler Algier, do you think that the Falcons are going to go through free agency, the draft, or maybe put up Nathan Carter to replace Algier?
I think we're going to draft a guy, to be honest with you, with how Ian Cunningham seems to uh, view the value of draft picks and players. I think that we're going to probably draft a running back. I think that we're going to, I mean, the guy said he's going to draft the best position of, not even the best position available, the best player available and not go for position. So I think we're going to end up with a pretty solid RB2, maybe in like the fourth, fifth round.
Yeah, I think it's officially Bijan Robinson's backfield now. I mean, the
Yeah,
near offensive player of the year, you definitely he definitely deserves to have the backfield all by himself. The Stefanski running game in 2020 was based off of like two-headed monster of Chubb and Hunt, but Bijan Robinson is probably better than both of those running backs combined.
agreed. And that's saying something because that was prime Nick Chubb.
Yeah, my goodness. But I think that the Falcons could go to the draft. I could see them also just signing a player on like a very minimal contract, like maybe like a Kareem Hunt to
Yeah.
go back with Kevin Stefanski there. You
Yeah, I
get
mean, why
Hunt on the
not?
goal line and then Bijan
Why not?
Robinson and most of the other runs just to give him a breather. But I don't think Tyler Algier is going to resign over there. He's a little too valuable for the Falcons to want to keep him because there's so many other cap situations you need to fix, and I don't think he's like a lead running back by any means.
No.
But now we move on to the wide receivers, and this receiver room is rough outside of Drake London, who's in year five of his rookie deal. I'm assuming they're going to pick, he already got his fifth year option picked up. So this next offseason will be when he hits the free agency market. We're going to need to
Yes.
negotiate an extension there. Darnell Mooney, meanwhile, is in year three of his deal, going to be a 2027 UFA as well, but also a major cut candidate with
Yes.
$11.9 million dollars in savings designated in a post 6-1 cut. Pre 6-1 at 7.4 mil. Then you have David Sills, who's a UFA. Rest in peace. Not rest in peace, but goodbye
What
to
a guy.
him.
What an interesting receiver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will never forget former QB talent David Sills the fifth.
Yeah.
Might be one of
And
the funniest players ever to wear
let's
a
be so
Falcons.
real. We're not re-signing him.
Dude, I remember all the way back when the Giants were consider they had David Sills starting over Kenny Galladay, who they
I
paid
mean,
$16 million
why?
dollars for. Well, because
Dude,
that's how bad Kenny Galladay was.
fair.
He was horrible in a Giants uniform.
Dude, David Sills, I swear, he can't catch a cold, but then all of a sudden just the nastiest one-handed catch on the sideline, and that's all you hear from all game.
That's so funny, man. That's so funny. Okay, yeah. After that, we have Casey Washington and Kadero Hodge. Washington's still in his rookie deal, about 1.1 million, while Kadero Hodge is in year two of his Falcons deal that somehow spans 3 years, $3.25 million
Yeah.
dollar cap hit. I didn't really look into his cut candidacy, but we also have Dylan Drummond, Malik Heath, Devin Tompkins, and Chris Blair, all just buys on the practice squad. But
Yeah. Practice
talk
squad
about our
guys.
man Darnell Mooney. What do you think happens to Darnell Mooney? Do you see him getting cut? Maybe a restructure? Do you see him staying on the team at all?
No, I really don't.
Hmm.
I just look, his first year on deal on contract in Atlanta was a very good year, very good season. However, he showed absolutely nothing this past season. I know he was playing through injury from some of it, but absolutely no chemistry with anybody in that receiving room, anybody in the quarterback room. Dude, it wasn't even just his catching ability, it was his running, like route running abilities. He was slow, he was bad off release, and past that, he wasn't quick on his cuts. Just, I mean, a complete disappointment from what he was the season before and what we're paying for him. I do not see a world where we re-sign or keep Darnamouti, retain Darnamouti. I see us cutting him post 6-1.
It also might just be a thing with like fit with Mooney. What I noticed when watching movies is he just did not have any chemistry with Penix.
No.
He had he had a good bit of chemistry with Cousins back in 2024. Like Cousins and
Yes.
Mooney, that was a good connection in 2024. But then when he comes back with Penix, you can see that his injury has really
Yes.
taken a lot of his explosiveness off, and there's just not a ton of chemistry with Penix. You see like a lot of overthrows, a lot of underthrows on deep routes for him, and I think that's best for both parties that he just ends up leaving.
Agreed.
Meanwhile, the Drake London contract is going to be a big talk in the offseason. They're going to need to either extend Drake London or maybe trade him away. Do you even see a world where the Falcons trade away Drake London?
No. You
Yeah,
don't
I
let
don't think
go of
so
your
either.
superstar receiver because you're not going to get anybody else in the market better than him. Also, not to
No.
mention that Drake London is the perfect receiver. And I say that because he is not your Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, who you're going to need to spend so much money to retain. Don't get me wrong. I still see Drake London being a top five paid receiver by the end of his contract, but the money you're going to have to pay to get a guy of his caliber is not something that we'd be willing to pay ever. So I 100% see us extending him. I see him being one of the highest paid receivers in the league. I see him being a top five paid receiver in the league, maybe five or four. I don't see us trading him away. I don't see us getting rid of him, and I would debate stopping being a Falcons fan if we did.
Let me do a quick trivia bit with you, Greg. Could you guess the top five receivers in terms of average salary right now?
Like yearly.
No, no, no. This year, they're currently on their contract.
Um,
Just by ab like a salary per year. Yeah, that's what I was about to
yeah.
say. Yeah.
I mean Jefferson's got to be up there.
Yeah, he's number two.
Jamar Chase is number one
Yup.
because I remember that whole debacle.
hmm
Uh, is Garrett Wilson like three or four?
Garrett Wilson's five, actually. There's
Five.
two. You still have three and four to get.
Um,
I'll give you a hint. One of them is one of the best receivers in the league, but he has kind of like a mid quarterback, and the other one tends to crash out a lot, including a major crash out against the Detroit Lions.
oh, DK.
Yeah, DK is number four on
Are you
here.
serious?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
It's a
is Puka
really
on there?
egregious overpay by Pittsburgh. But can you guess the third one?
Is it Puka?
Not
Or
Puka,
is he still
actually.
on? Is he still on his 5 year? It's JSN, isn't it? Or is
No,
JSN
actually
also
not
still on it?
JSN either. Yeah, neither of those two. This guy was like drafted in like 2020, I want to say. Um,
Oh, I don't know.
one more guess.
Dude, don't tell me it's like Claypool or something.
No, it's not Claypool.
I don't know.
It's CD Lamb.
Oh yeah, jeez,
So Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Metcalf, and Wilson are the five highest paid
man.
receivers right now, and Wilson's
Look,
making
yeah,
about 32.5 million. But I think that something in common with all of them is that all five of them are number one receivers in their team, and that's
agreed.
the thing with London too. I think that London's going to be able to. I think London's going to try negotiating for about 33 million in his new contract,
Yeah,
34 million average.
I mean, look, if you're an NFL GM, I'm sorry. There's no doubt in my mind that Drake London is better than the last two guys on that list to me, or not the last two, but at least better than Gary Wilson. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, definitely better than DK. Definitely better than the last two. Um, I'd say comparable with a guy like CD. CD just gets a lot more targets,
he's in a better
specifically in the
offense too.
2024 season. So yeah, I mean, I totally see him being there. Top three, perhaps 100%.
Yeah, and with the George Pickens franchise tag or even the next contract coming up for him, you could definitely see Drake London's value start to balloon there. But
Yes.
enough of the wide receivers. Let's discuss the tight ends. Your man Kyle Pitts, he's a free agent this year. Charlie Warner is in year three of his contract, got a $5.75 million cap hit. I didn't even write on here, but he has about $4 million in savings if the Falcons cut him. So again, another cut candidate for
Yes.
Atlanta. Felipe Franks is also UFA, so is Tegan Quintoriano. I don't think either one of those are really worth discussing that much, but let's go to your guy. Much do you think Kyle Pitts accepts if he comes back to Atlanta?
I think 4 years, around 70 million. That's about
Wow.
17. I said 68 to be specific. That's $17 million dollars a year. Correct me on my math if I'm wrong. But I would say that
Yep.
puts him at about where Kittle is, a little bit under. I don't think that he's quite superstar like Kittle. However, I think that Kyle Pitts and his agent should know that Kyle Pitts is a top three tight end in the league. And if you're arguing against me, argue against a wall. I'm sorry. That's what I think. I think Kyle Pitts is a top three tight end in the league, and I think he should get paid like one.
Oh man. Yeah. That's really different from what I think, honestly. I
Really?
because like the only two people that are making the only three people that are making over 17 million a year right now are George Kittle, Trey McBride, and Travis Kelce, who is a UFA this next offseason. I think he
Yeah.
either could retire or re-sign with Kansas City on a discount.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that Pitts is good. I don't see like that. I could definitely see the Falcons signing him to that high of a
Yeah.
term, but I would not be a fan of that. I think that I'm looking at maybe like a Mark Andrews or Jake Ferguson kind of contract. Maybe even like Cole Kmet. He's making around
Sure.
$12.5 million per year. Like if Kyle Pitts were to return back to Atlanta on like a 4-year, $50 million deal, I'd be fine with that. I could definitely see him taking I could definitely see him like only accepting that kind of deal though from Atlanta
And I
because
could, the issue is I could see a team like Dallas offering him that contract. I
true
could
that.
totally see a team like Dallas being like, because I mean, let's think about it. Dak Prescott with George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and Kyle Pitts.
They already have
I
Jake
mean,
Ferguson too. That would be a nuts two tight end system.
right. I could totally see a team like that paying up for a guy like Kyle Pitts because let's be real. I mean, he really is that elite. It really
Yeah.
goes down to the fact that we have not been scheming well with him, but it doesn't matter that we haven't been scheming well with him because he was a top three tight end in uh, output this season, you know? And it's
Yeah.
not a thing of like, when is his breakout year going to be? It's the thing of this guy's a tight end. There is no breakout year where you're blah, 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 blah. It happens like once or twice in your career. You don't see a guy like, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. There's guys like Travis Kelce who do put up those numbers all the time, but Kyle Pitts, I don't know. I think this is about what you're going to expect with a guy like this. And especially with what Stefanski likes to run, and he does like to run a 12, 13 personnel a lot. A guy like Kyle Pitts is so valuable. I could totally see us coughing up a ton of money for him. And honestly, you are right. We really shouldn't be paying him $17 million a year for a 4-year contract, maybe 2-year contract with that much. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, Pitts is definitely got an advantage because he is only around 22 years old, but yeah, he could definitely earn that much money. There's
Also,
the what's it called? The
sorry,
franchise
side
tag is
point I
around.
just realized.
Yeah, the franchise tag is around like 16
Um,
million dollars. What up?
yeah. Side point I just realized regarding Kyle Pitts, I didn't really put into this when I was thinking about his value, is that Pitts, we might actually be a little bit more fortunate that this is the season where Pitts is entering free agency because, as we know, Cleveland's losing and is Njoku, right? This is
Yes,
his.
Cleveland
He said
is
he's not
losing
returning
Dave
to
and the
Cleveland.
Joker.
That's right.
That was another point I was going to bring up.
Yes,
But yeah,
that is confirmed now that he's not returning to Cleveland. That does make me feel a little bit better with Kyle Pitts not being the primary. I shouldn't say not the primary, but the only tight end going into this offseason in his caliber. So maybe you're right, honestly. Maybe I am overvaluing Pitts a little bit with a guy like Njoku being on the market too. And also, you know that Njoku's going to sign to another team. You know he's not going to stay in Cleveland. So this
yeah.
guy is confirmed in the market.
It's so strange that Todd Monken was not able to get Dave Njoku to stay, especially with how he uses two
Agreed.
tight ends, like with Likely and Mark Andrews out there. That's
Agreed.
that's very strange to me. But going on your point, you said that Dallas should pursue Kyle Pitts if he goes to free agency. I think that Cleveland is actually I think Cleveland should actually pursue Kyle Pitts,
Not a
which
bad point.
yeah, something about the reason being is because they use a toe tight end personnel. I don't think that Kyle Pitts is as strong of a blocker as David Njoku, and they already kind of have a skinny tight end in Harold Fadden Jr. But I could definitely see Kyle Pitts like improving his blocking a bit. Maybe even Cleveland. I could see him going to New York too, because Theo Johnson's a much better blocker than Kyle Pitts. And they just hired John Harbaugh over there, and he's got his own offensive scheme there too. So I could definitely see New York going for him as well. Going to the offensive line now. We got a lot of money saved up for this group. Jake Matthews, obviously big veteran on the team. Year two of his extension's got a $27 million cap hit, and he's going to be a free agent in the 2029 year. Matthew Bergeron's in th year three of his rookie contract. He's going to be 2027 UFA as well, and we cannot get a fifth year option on him since he was not a first round pick. Ryan Nutzel's in year two of an extension that he had with us. 2.225 million dollar cap hit, 2027 UFA. Chris Lindstrom is in year four of his extension, a $26.5 million cap hit, 2029 UFA, and Caleb McGarry is at a $14.99 million cap hit, and he's a 2028 UFA. He's in year two of his extension. I could definitely see the Falcons try restructuring his contract, considering he's
Yes,
31 years old, and he definitely has. I think that maybe that injury could have an effect on him.
agreed. Yeah, I mean, he missed the entire season, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. But outside of that, you get Kyle Hinton, Storm Norton, who is again another cut candidate, got 1.3
Yes.
million to cap hit, 2027 UFA. Elijah Wilkinson is gone, thank God. And Jack Nelson was a rookie this past season. I'm not exaggerating. I think Jack Wilson, the seventh round rookie, could do better than Elijah Wilkinson did last
Yeah,
year.
agreed.
I was just so sorry. I was so tired of us having to rely on him in the line of
I mean,
scrimmage.
dude, we were at the point in the season where, sorry, we were at the point in the start of the season where we were praying for Storm Norton to return. Like, what a year.
My goodness. But one big decision the Falcons are going to have to make is with Matthew Bergeron. Similar to Drake London, Bergeron is a projected free agent after this season. Do you have any projected contract on what Matthew Bergeron is going to extend with Atlanta?
I don't have a projected contract. However, I do 100% see us retaining him, especially with the fact that with the new O-line coach and how dependent we are going to be on the run, specifically with how Stefanski likes to run things. I think a guy like Bergeron is going to be extremely important to this offense. So to me, I think I'm not going to say a blank check per se, but I think we're going to do a lot of what we can to resign him. That said, with this new system in place, we're going to see how Matthew Bergeron does. I could totally see the O-line being shaken up a lot, considering we've got a completely new O-line coach who likes to do things his very specific way.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting to see how he gels with Bill Callahan there. But I think Bergeron, I think that teams might see Bergeron as a little more valuable than Atlanta could see him. I can definitely see Bergeron potentially testing the waters in free agency next year, just because he shows some great instances of tape. Like he's a really good pass blocker and he has the ability to be a very good run blocker, but he sometimes just has these he's a pretty good offensive lineman, but sometimes pretty good offensive linemen can be very overvalued in free agency. I mean, Dan Moore, I point to Dan Moore in 2024. The guy was signed to, I think, $50 million in total with Tennessee, was one of the worst offensive linemen in the entire league. But he was signed to that contract because Tennessee desperately needed offensive linemen, and he was okay at Pittsburgh. So I could definitely see Bergeron getting trying to get that kind of money in free agency next season. So I think it'll be very important to see where the Falcons
Yeah,
go with
definitely
this.
possible.
But overall, out of all this, which players do you see getting cut from the roster to improve on the $27 million in cap space we have right now? That's ranked 13th in the league, by the way.
Well, obviously, the two big ones are going to be Mooney and Cousins. And past that, I definitely see us cutting Storm Norton 100%. Guys struggle with some injuries here and there. And with this whole regime change happening, I don't know if he's going to have a place in this O-line. Those would be, I think, the big three for me. We're going to I think the other thing is just letting a lot of these guys walk, like Felipe Franks, Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that Tyler Algier is probably gone too, and most of these guys. The only person I'd say is probably worth considering giving a franchise tag or even like negotiated extension with them is Kyle Pitts, but
Agreed.
I don't know if that's gonna happen for Atlanta. 16 million is no joke to go through at the tight end position, and who knows, maybe we can get another tight end in the drafts like Pitts, but I don't think I don't think 16 million is. kind of crazy for me to invest in him. But outside of that, that is going to be the offensive offseason outlook. We will be looking at the defense next week. Closing out the show, Grant, what is your winner and loser on this year?
My winner, I'd say, specifically for this week, would be Leonard Floyd, who now has a place to make a huge impact on this Atlanta Falcons defense. As for my loser, it's going to be the Falcons yet again. If we're talking in general for the season, man, that's a hard one. My winner would have to be Trevor Lawrence, actually, and my loser would have to be the New York Jets.
I totally get that. If we're looking at this week, I'd say my winner would be the defensive nicknames. The Dark Side is a really good nickname for a very feared defense, and it's back in style. I mean, I didn't think that I thought Saxonville was probably the last great one that we've had so far. Bears didn't have a nickname for the 2018 defense, but now
Yeah,
Seattle has finally got one, and I'm so glad that they're officially back
yeah.
in business.
It's how you know the football's back when we get start getting defensive nicknames.
Yep. The loser is going to be Trinidad Chambliss, just because he got his reconsideration for sixth year in the NCAA denied. And it's just been a real mud fight with Trinidad Chambliss and the NCAA. The trials have been just an absolute joke. You saw like I think Joe Judge said one of the most sexist things any coach could say, but the NCAA and this the whole of Ole Miss is really showing its ass here, and I don't think
Definitely.
it's just a rough ordeal. I think Trinidad Chambliss should just try to go to the draft. You're not even invited to the combine either. He foregoed his invitation to go to the combine for this.
That sucks. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
he really is just trying to wait and twiddle his thumbs until the NCAA gives him another year of eligibility.
Yeah.
But we'll see who the loser of that is. But in terms of the year, I'd say, the loser is probably the Jets. Maybe Dante Moore as well, just because he definitely could have been the second overall pick. But
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think. I mean, there's a chance he might not be a first rounder next year. He
yeah,
might not even be a top three quarterback in the draft class next season. Like, especially with a guy like Arch Manning, you know, who
hmm
might very well take the QB1 spot depending on how the season goes.
absolutely. But my winner of the year is going to be Sam Darnold. He completely revitalized his career,
That's
and
good.
he always had his raw talent with the Jets and sometimes the Panthers too, but he finally got to show it in Seattle, and he's now a Super Bowl champion, beating the Patriots too. Like,
Yeah.
imagine saying to a Jets fan 6 years ago that Sam Darnold was going to beat the Patriots in a Super
In the
Bowl.
Super Bowl, man.
That's
Man, yeah.
absolutely
No, I
nuts.
agree. It's a good one.
But that's going to close out the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another week of the Gritz Blitz podcast. Be sure to follow us on all the socials on YouTube, on Spotify, on Instagram, and we have a new X account too. I was going to reveal that later on, but be sure to follow my socials on Twitter. X. I'm at Owen Strikes Out. I also am on Tackles and Checks too. That's where I cover football and hockey. Be sure to follow Grant on Instagram as well. And thank you guys for tuning in to the show. Rise up.
Rise up.